Driving from Oklahoma to Arizona tonight I should say. The sun's going down, and I thought I'd pop in for a live stream because I've been enjoying doing these on the road. They're a lot of fun, sometimes, most of the time. Anyway, welcome everybody. Appreciate you all supporting the channel. I'm gonna have the phone mounted while I'm driving for legal reasons, so I can't see it or interact with it. But when I pull over, I'll be able to read your comments. But as of now, yeah, we are getting ready to head off. I've already driven about 300 miles today, so yeah, I wanted to pop in with the world, and I was trying to capture this sunset for you today, but I'm not sure if we're going to get the sunset because we've got some clouds. That's the way it goes. But anyway, welcome people. Curious what's going on down there in the Philippines as usual. There's always stuff going on. But, you know, you got to take breaks sometimes from social media overload. That's why it's good to be out here on the road. The joys of truck driving before AI and autonomous trucks replace us. Before AI replaces all the jobs in the white-collar workforce. Although I think the white-collar world's going to go first, a lot of it, right? It would make more sense to me. People seem to think driving jobs are going to go first, but I think a lot of, you know, I don't know, different white-collar stuff like clerical work, accounting, you know, even dispatching. I mean, a lot of stuff can be automated if you think about it. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Who knows what's going to happen? Seems like our predictions are always off about the future anyway, right? Yeah, anyway, welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all took your fish oils today. I took a lot of fish oils today. Been really enjoying them, actually. Fish oil's got a lot of health benefits, man. Very good for the brain, the body, everything. Can actually cool inflammation in your brain if you have that. Not that I do, but if anybody was wondering. That's a possibility. It certainly is. So welcome to the live stream, everybody. Please support it. Smash the like button. That's all I ask for. And we're going to have a good ride today. It should be a lot of fun. Thank you, Tamara. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was shaving at the gym yesterday, and a guy was making fun of me. I don't know, one of these neighborhood Joneses types. I guess he's kind of bought into debt, and he lives like in a house in some neighborhood. Because I get like dozens of gyms across the country, right? And, you know, obviously I basically live in the truck. I live different places on the road. I sleep in parking lots. I sleep at truck stops. Really, truck driving is almost like being a professional homeless person, in a sense. If you think about it, you're kind of living like a transient lifestyle, right? You're on the road, you're away from family, you're away from society. I'm just joking. But I love truck driving, man. I really do. It gets more comfortable, too, as time goes on. You know, what's up, Tamara? Maintenance guy says, lot lizards. Yes. Those are not as prevalent as some people might think, though, believe it or not. In fact, I think with all the, you know, data naps and stuff like this, the days of, like, lot lizards and, like, truck stop prostitution, I don't think it's very rampant as much as some people might think. But that's just from my observations. I don't really have experiences with lot lizards other than, I don't know, it says hello, old grandpa. Thank you. Hello to you, too. Oh, Richard Holland. What's up, man? Hunter says you look like Steve Irwin. Not sure who that is. Let's get these likes boosted up, though, guys. We got to get these live streams going, man. I really appreciate you all. I really do. I did a live stream late last night. And,
you're going to have some zero karma, no worry at all vegetable dinner. Like, fuck off. You're not.
Just getting the things, getting your the organic paper towels or whatever they have.
How's a Joe Rogan podcast? All right. Thank you, Admiral Kirk. Appreciate that. Richard Hollins here. Hunter says you look like John Cena. I'm not sure who that is either, actually. Okay. All right. Not sure what's going on with these. Getting some. So weird. You know, I was like really enjoying social media, you know, to a degree, but sometimes you got to unplug from it. And I think it's better for your mental health. I mean, I think if you're on social media too much, it can kind of be damaging, right? So it's good to have a variety of stuff for sure. Yes, no, I'm an OTR truck driver. That is correct, sir. It's kind of like the live streams. Like, I love doing live streams, but then I'd say like maybe 10% of the commenters, only 10%, most of them are cool. Like, they're like clearly like mentally ill, like lonely people. They just like write crazy stuff. And, you know, the thing with me is like I tend to engage it too, and I probably shouldn't, but but I'm getting better at kind of like, it's just some of it's not worth it, you know. So I try to help the mentally ill people of society, but you know, you got to maintain balances sometimes. Well, I'm gonna pull over. Actually, I'm pulled over actually, but Ema says, I find truckers interested. Well, yeah, I imagine some of them are. So check this out. I had an issue with an old acquaintance of mine, coworker, and it's very sad because, you know, I've known this guy for many, many years, and I had great experiences with the company. We made a lot of money, built good relationships, but he was trying to charge me for something which was really bizarre, and I don't know what happened, but basically there was no grounds to like charge me this money that he's trying to charge me for something. I'm not going to specify what it is, it's not that important, but you know, I haven't even been at the company for a long time, and I don't know what happened to this guy, but I think he turned it into like a power trip, and I pretty much outlined in the best professional and legal terms that I could, you know, come up with why I basically don't owe this fee or whatever, and he didn't really acknowledge it, and unfortunately I had to kind of escalate it to like upper management, including the owners of the company, because he just wasn't getting the message, and I think they're going to take care of it now, but it kind of, you know, probably ruined that relationship, which is kind of sad. But yeah, I don't know, man, some of the mid-level office Joneses, I call them, they tend to power trip. You know, you got to watch out for people like different people in operations and fleet managers and bookkeepers, HR. They can be problematic people for a company, man. You know, it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure why that happens. Tamaris Fletcher says, I'm doing good, thank you. Richard Holland. Who else is here? Who else is here? Am I on Instagram? You know, I got on it to kind of follow some of my sisters and family members, but man, I don't know what it is about Instagram, but I just can't seem to get into it. It's too, it's just such a, I don't want to sound like a hater or anything, but God, the brain rot is unbelievable. I mean, every time I turn it on, people are doing pretty cool things like jumping off of buildings and doing really bizarre stuff. You know what I mean? Like balancing bottles on their head, doing backflips on dangerous ledges and stuff. Just really strange things, and it's cool, you know. But it's like, what it get like hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm like, man, what the heck are people doing all day, dude? Is this what it's about? Is this what it's come to? Right? I'm like, I try to create stuff that has meaning, you know, part of my channel, if anybody's watched it. I'm assuming a lot of people in here tonight are new, though. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, a lot of brain rot, man. I'm telling you, the brain rot's not healthy for you. But yeah, AI is exponentially growing, ladies and gentlemen. And we are at risk in general as humans to becoming automated. Now, what's going to happen when people are genuinely replaced in their jobs? Is there going to be like just this universal income? Are we going to become so dumbed down by technology that we can no longer think for ourselves? We don't even have critical thinking skills. I mean, people can, even in school, man, you can like write essays and do all sorts of things just with AI. It's kind of amazing. I guess we'll just be living on the moon one day, and you know, the elites will, I guess, drink their blood and do human sacrifices and just kind of get rid of all of lose interest in us humans on Earth or something. And then, yeah, there'll be like a universal basic income. And then nobody will want to work anymore. Nobody will really have any like dignity or purpose. And I guess that's going to supposedly make everybody happy. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know. Tamara says, I heard a lot of truckers are serial killers. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's been going on since the 80s, right? The stereotypes. It's unbelievable. So pre-1980s, truck drivers used to make a lot of money. They were like well respected. And then government regulations started coming in the 80s in the US, and they started making less money. Mega carriers and big corporations became more greedy, started paying drivers less. Hollywood turned on them. And all the movies since like, I'd say like Over the Top of Sylvester Stallone. It was like the last good trucking movie. And then after that, it just pretty much went downhill. And like Tamara said, you know, they started painting them as these degenerate low-lifes, criminals, and even serial killers. And it's pretty amazing. It's been going on for a long time. Yeah. I mean, it's so bad that they have to constantly, they can no longer retain drivers at companies and stuff. So, you know, they're constantly recruited for truck drivers, and these companies got to talk about how much they love them and all this stuff. It's pretty amazing, but yeah. All right, we're going to have to kick some people out, unfortunately. Admiral Kirk is not behaving, so we're going to have to hide him for a while. He can come back later. What else? Okay. Yeah, we're getting some really strange comments today. This is really interesting. Yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on, though. It's like, I think social media is combined with the mental health system is just breeding more and more mental illness in the country. And social media is actually a very positive thing if you use correctly, right? Especially for like truck drivers or people that work remotely, or people that work kind of on the outskirts of society, right? Like sailors or truck drivers, because it's a good way for them to like connect with humanity while they're gone, right? But you see the extreme, and yeah, like people just popping into this live stream right now. They're just saying like the most absolutely craziest things, you know? It's like, what are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your life? What's the purpose? Kuya Storm, what's up, man? He says, when do you head back to the Philippines? Well, that's a good question. Could be very soon. Could be in a matter of months. I haven't decided yet. I usually kind of announce those things last minute. I don't like people to know exactly where I am at any given moment, except right now, of course. You know. Oh, what a beautiful day. All right, we're gonna have to time out Schoolie for a while until he comes back and behaves. See, I do a lot of timeouts. I don't try to like block people from the channel outright. Uninvited guest says, I feel less depressed since I quit social media. Well, that's good. I don't think it's bad. It's just, you know, you'll sit there and all of a sudden you've scrolled and like, you know, 5 hours has gone by and you say, my God, what have I done with my time? It's that kind of thing. But anyway, there's been a new guideline put in place by the NPC, NPC guideline in the Philippines for vloggers, where now they have to blur people's faces in public and have disclaimers on their videos if people want to be you know, taken out of their video or whatever if they're filming in public. So a lot of vloggers, many of them are very concerned about what's going to happen, like the future of vlogging in the Philippines. But I'm kind of curious too how it's going to play out. I was talking about it myself. He says, "Who the F are you?" Well, that's a good question. I'm in existence on planet Earth, and I think that our message transcends to a lot of people. Um, we're all specks in the universe, so to speak, seeking the light, seeking truth, interconnectedness, all that. Yeah, I guess that's who I am. Anybody guesses, look at it from another angle. The Philippines is a tourist country. What if people are visiting and make videos? Does that still apply to them? Well, I believe it does, technically, you know. Although I think from what I've read, it's more geared towards, I would imagine, people with like huge channels, seeking commercial gain, so to speak, monetizing videos, stuff like that. Obviously, people filming stuff they shouldn't film or without people's consent, that kind of thing. Anyway, guys, smash that like button for me. Let's get these up to like 15 really quick, if you don't mind. Help me out there. And we're about to hit the road again. We are in close to Custer City, Oklahoma. I know how much you guys want to see Custer City, Oklahoma. It's been on your bucket list, and well, we popped in at the right time, folks. So today you get to see it. You guys get to see Oklahoma and the sun going down. Aren't you excited? Okay. So how many people are new to the channel? Raise your hands. Or how many people have been here before? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all. Ben Shepard says, looking good, Captain. Thanks, Ben. I'm taking a lot of fish oils. Yeah, I'm really watching my diet. I'm drinking a lot of water. And I'm taking a lot of biotin, a lot of fish oils, a lot of, of course, multivitamins, nootropics for the brain. All right, there's a lot of good vitamins and herbs now for the brain, like brain functioning. And yeah, and I'm into like oils, like I said, fish oils, coconut oil, salmon oil. I got my fridge stocked with like a bunch of like fish oils. Nordic Naturals is a great brand. I just went into a Walmart. They sell them at Walmart. You don't have to go to like a... Surprisingly, at Walmart, actually, you can find good quality vitamins there, good brands. You just got to look for them. But yeah, I'm taking about 3 times the recommended dosage of fish oils because I think it's people don't take enough of them, basically. And yeah, it's try to take it before exercise, after, at night, morning, all that good stuff. Really keen on the cardio over the road, so I'll try to jog and run for like 3 miles. Maybe 6 miles per hour the first 10 minutes just to warm up, and then I'll do intervals like 12 miles per hour, drop it down for like a minute, drop it down to 7 for a minute, back up to 10 miles per hour for a minute, drop it down to 7 miles, do that for the next 10 minutes, and then cool down for the next 10 minutes. It's like, it's good, Then of course, high repetitions on the weights while over the road. Don't get so much into like heavy weightlifting. I do more of that when I'm in the Philippines, down in the jungle. It's where I do my heavy lifting, try to... Anyway, not that anybody cares about my workout routine, but hey, Francis, appreciate that. Well, let's continue this highly intellectual and stimulating conversation and hit the road now. No more taxes on overtime. This is a big one for me. That's good. That is good, Ben. Who wants taxes, huh? All right, let's hit the road. Okay, we got the phone mounted, folks. You guys see that beautiful loves right there?
Of dead animals on social media. Yeah.
When did you put May 1st, 2015?
Yeah.
Gosh, 8 years ago. 8 years ago.
Oh man. How's everybody doing out there? I want to start interviewing more people on the live stream. I've been saying that for like a couple weeks, but I got to get around to it. I gotta reach out to some people, man. I like interviewing people, like interesting people. It's fun. I like doing my channel, but you know, sometimes it feels like you're talking to yourself, right? So you kind of want to reach out to people and see what they have to say. Welcome to the live stream, folks. We are leaving west of Oklahoma City and we're headed towards Kingman, Arizona. So if you happen to be on the side of the road, be sure to wave.
Continue on I-40.
Got a nice little sunset going on, obstructed by something. I like the term neuroplasticity for some reason. They say the brain is has a lot of like, I guess it's, I think like fish oils can increase neuroplasticity, they say. Whatever that means, right? I'm not even sure what that means. Sort of like rewires the brain or creates new pathways. I wonder how much, you know, in the future, because there's so much about the brain that obviously we really don't understand. You wonder with AI and medicine, you know, with medical technology and whatnot, if they're going to be able to analyze the human brain better, right? Absolutely amazing. Future of tourism in the Philippines. So apparently there's been a pullback recently of tourists going to the Philippines, right? Not really sure what caused it, I'm not going to speculate. However, there doesn't seem to be any like known information about exactly how many expats or tourist Americans go to the Philippines. Even the U.S. State Department doesn't really seem to have that information for some reason. I guess it's hard to get statistics on that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, some stats say there's like maybe 400,000 Americans there right now, 500, some say 600,000. But I guess nobody really knows for sure. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But anyway, I do think there'll be more and more expats, Americans, going out there in the future to live. So I've always questioned like that's going to, I don't know how that will influence or affect their culture. You know, how's that work? How is that going to work? Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. It's Captain Trucker. We're driving to Arizona. Hope you're all having a blessed day out there. So a lot of people were pretty outraged by what Vitaly did down there in the Philippines. For those of you who don't know, Vitaly was Russian, I think, stuff like that. So he had like maybe 1 million followers on his YouTube. Did a lot of pranks, you know. I guess he was about maybe in his mid-30s, something like that. So he goes to the Philippines and just behaves in the most outlandish, disrespectful way you can possibly imagine. And then he gets into trouble, gets brought up on charges. Yeah, and a lot of people are pretty upset by that. A lot of people feel that these new guidelines for vloggers were inspired by what he did. Who knows? The point I was making though is like he's not the only one, right? There's hundreds of foreign bloggers in the Philippines. At least 500 that we know of. They don't all exactly have the best ethics for filming in public and so forth. Some of them do, some of them don't. It just depends. Welcome to the Captain Trucker live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your support. Smash that like button. Let's get this boosted in the algorithm. You're all awesome. I love the random strangers that show up to the live streams. Even though maybe 10 to 20% of them are possibly mentally ill, we still appreciate you. And I appreciate the majority of the audience because they're great. About 80% of my audience is normal, and then, a lot of them have been around a long time too, which is great. Very grateful for that. No, I'm just joking, ladies and gentlemen. I'm saying on social media in general, I think it creates I don't know. People tend to act out. People people tend to act out in a mentally ill way, but they're not necessarily mentally ill. They just say like random crazy stuff. They argue with strangers. Maybe that's kind of a stretch to say they're mentally ill. That's not fair. I apologize. I'm just thinking out loud right now. But anyway, I got my phone mounted. I can't see it, but when I pull over, I'll be able to reply to the comments properly. So we're getting hit with some rain. Chopper! Melina, come on! I wish Arnold was here. I still like Total Recall, man. That's a great movie. I think this rain will pass shortly. Welcome to the Captain Trucker live stream, ladies and gentlemen. We are leaving Oklahoma, headed towards Arizona. We just encountered a random rainstorm, but I think it's letting up as I speak. So that's good news. Yeah, it's starting to let up. If you guys like the rain, smash that like button. Let's get those likes up to 22, or 25, or 30, whatever it's at, I don't know. How about 50? Let's do 50. About 8:10 p.m. Central Time as I speak. All right, the rain has stopped, more or less. least it's not snowing. You know, people think like rain is dangerous, but you want to know what's more dangerous? It's actually, well, driving like in fog in the mountains, for instance, that can be very dangerous. But also wind, right? Because wind, you can't really see it. And like a strong wind gust can actually blow a truck over, especially if you're carrying a light load. I've seen that happen. And I've seen trucks blown over like in Wyoming. It's very windy on like the I-80 in Wyoming, for instance. And of course, ice is very dangerous as well. If you ever hear a truck driver say he's good at driving on ice, don't listen to anything he ever says. There's no such thing as being good at driving on ice. It's almost like an oxymoron, right? It's like saying you're good at walking on nails or something. Yeah, I'm a professional at walking on nails. It's like, oh, great. Fantastic. All right, the sky's clearing up. That's good news. Rain has stopped. We made it through the storm. Tomorrow we'll be in Arizona. Should be able to get some great shots of the desert for you all, I hope so. I love going to the Southwest. One of my favorite parts to drive to. Southwestern US, Arizona, New Mexico, even Nevada. It's kind of like the sweet spot for trucking, in my opinion. You know? Weather's usually good. You can always find parking. Nice open roads, easy to deal with. It's where you're going to see the autonomous trucks first. It's going to be in the Southwest more. They're already there, but those kind of routes are easier to automate. Like the I-10, probably from like LA to Houston. Pretty straightforward road, good weather, all that. Yeah, a lot of people think like autonomous trucks are gonna, with AI, they're gonna be the first people in the work sector to replace, but I'm very skeptical, man. I think a lot of white collar jobs are gonna go first, man. I think some of these mid-level office staff people are gonna be going. I mean, seriously, like bookkeeping, clerical work, even accounting. I mean, how easy is that going to be automated? Excuse me, how easy would that, much easier would that be to automate versus all the safety variables in trucking, you know? What people don't realize about the future of automation for trucks is that it's not all based on the technology. So even when the technology is available, implementing that, updating infrastructure, changing laws, insurances, companies replacing fleets, that'll low, it's going to take a number of years. So it's not all the technology. It's not the only factor going on. I like the green scenery though, don't you? It's very peaceful. Should be crossing the Texas border shortly. Maybe about 180 miles from Amarillo. Then we'll go to Albuquerque. Through Arizona. Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. It's yours truly, Captain Trucker. I hope you're all having a positive day out there, and you've come to the positive corner of the internet, as Arnold says. Smash that like button, show your support. I'm subscribed to Arnold Schwarzenegger's newsletter. He has this thing called the Pump Club. Yeah, I get like an email every week. I like it. I did a live stream last night. It was like in the dark, you know? It was kind of a weird vibe. I thought, well, maybe I should show people what driving at night is like. There we go, now we can see the sun behind the clouds. Maybe we'll see a UFO today, you never know. I've never seen any UFOs. Although pilots in the military have. Some of them have gone public. Some of them were afraid of losing their job. But even the US government has officially acknowledged there's objects that they can't explain. So I guess the days of demonizing people who have claimed they've seen UFOs are over. Well, not really. Some people just do it for attention, but there's stuff out there, folks. Some people even think there's like a civilization underneath the sea, right? Can you imagine that? The depths of the ocean that we don't even know about? It'd be like this advanced civilization under the ocean. They pop out of the water occasionally to check out what we're doing. Oh, us humans, we just can't get along across all these borders and countries. And we've got madmen running the world. Probably mostly big corporations are to blame. For all the insanity, of course. Greed, all that, yeah. I mean, what's up with fluoride, right? You know, fluoride's like a neurotoxin. I guess it's good for your teeth, but studies have shown that it can actually lower people's IQ. What's that about? I mean, there's got to be big business going on in fluoride. I mean, why else would it be? I mean, who allows this to happen, right? Unbelievable. We've got to enjoy the final days of the frontier, folks. The world could be unrecognizable in like 20, 30 years, man. It's like sci-fi is going to become a reality or something. You all having a good day over there on planet Earth? I know I am. We got our health. We got the open road. There's a lot to be thankful for. Life's good, man. phenomenon in truck driving. It's called highway hypnosis. I think it was studied back in the 30s. Yeah, highway hypnosis. So there's a theory that some drivers have this thing called, well, over long distances they become hypnotized by the road basically, and part of their brain like disassociates from their immediate reality and it goes into like fantasy, and it has conversations and writes books and it does all this creative stuff, and then the other part of their brain is actively focused on safety, driving, right? But they sort of get into this hypnotic trance over a long period of time during the day. Hundreds and hundreds of miles, right? And I've probably experienced this too, to some degree, where, you know, the day ends and you don't even know like what stage you're in or where you are or how you got there. And then suddenly like 500 miles has gone by. And I think some drivers have that creative part of their brain that helps them, well, it helps make the job, I guess, doable and interesting, because a lot of people get, you know, long haul driving, they feel bored or they get tired or they just can't do it. Like a lot of people simply cannot do this work, right? But I think the good drivers, they have an element of discipline and they get locked into this highway hypnosis thing to where it can benefit them and actually make them better drivers, and they can remain, you know, mentally functioning and sharp, do creative tasks in their mind, all while, you know, operating the vehicle safely and whatnot. It's kind of interesting. But then I've also read it can be dangerous for some drivers too. So it just depends, I guess. Yeah, highway hypnosis, look it up if anybody cares. If you guys are enjoying the green scenery and the sun going down, smash that like button. We're leaving Oklahoma, and we'll be in Texas soon. studies that show that, like, I think they estimated that 80% of the accounts on Twitter, or excuse me, X, were bots. Can you imagine that? So you gotta wonder how many bots in general are on social media. These bot farms and like, but some of them are really creative because they can develop, I mean, people don't even realize that they're necessarily real or fake or whatever. It's kind of remarkable. Can you imagine that? So if that's true, if 80% of the accounts on X were bots, wow. What does that mean? Are people like interacting with like just bots sometimes and they don't even realize it? That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? I think that's what's going on. I think there might be vloggers that just get sucked into like different algorithms. Like, you ever notice that? Like, you watch social media, whether it's a blogger or another channel, and you say, man, how the heck do they have such a big following? You know, not to be a hater, but it's not exactly like the most meaningful material or even entertaining or whatever. But maybe there's like a psyops and people are pushing different things of distractions and disinformation, right? I mean, if you think about it, they have a lot of paid protest even now. Like in the US, it's not illegal to hire paid protesters to go, I don't know, protest a rally, or like, I think even the protesters that were doing the Tesla stuff, like a lot of them were paid. Get some guy like 18, 20 something years old, say, hey man, I'll give you $400 for the day if you go hold up a sign and yell for 10 hours. I'm like, yeah, sure. It's kind of weird. Why I'm starting to even question like the validity of being famous on social media, what it even means. So I'm wondering if some of them are just part of a psyops, like they're just getting plugged in and they don't even realize it a lot of the time, you know? I guess there's a level of performance. I mean, you gotta be good on some level, right? But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's odd to me. Like, there's people running big corporations that could be pulling strings, you know? People with agendas and so forth. what I love about trucking is I feel like you get to kind of escape some of the noise and some of the frequencies of the cities and society, and you can kind of give your brain like a mental rest and a place of peace, you know, so you can actually think and become whole again. Yeah, back to the paid protest. I knew a guy in Los Angeles. I'm not going to say who it is, but I mean, I didn't know him well. I just knew of him. I had a conversation with him. And he ran a company. I won't say what company it was, but that's what his company was. It was, he organized and hired basically paid protesters to push propaganda, to create, draw media to crowds to different things. Like he would go, I think he paid a group of people once to go protest outside of like a major utility company and he got the media there and everything. And the people they target to do this stuff are obviously, a lot of them are transient people, low income people, you know, young people. I mean, they're not particularly ideological, excuse me. But you got to wonder how much that can manipulate and bring attention to stuff, again, like in an artificial way. Like it's not real. Like they're not genuine protesters. Like they're being paid. I mean, I know a lot of people when I lived in LA, even struggling actors and stuff, I mean, they'll do anything, you know? They'll do any job. And a lot of them were doing it. I watched the episode of Bernie Sanders on Joe Rogan. It was kind of interesting because towards the end, they were talking about how Donald Trump was going after that major news network, or I think his campaign, because they edited Kamala Harris's interview basically, because everybody knew that like Kamala Harris basically couldn't hold conversations. Just wasn't for her, right? And so they had to like edit her actual answers, like somebody running for president, you know, on a major news network. And Bernie Sanders was kind of dismissing it, saying like, oh, that's just Trump. He just goes after anybody who he doesn't like that says anything critical or bad about him, which there could be some truth in that, but also Rogan kind of pushed back and said, well, wait a minute. No, we're talking about the network actually edited her answers, you know, like it wasn't like a real interview. And he's like, well, Joe, I just know that they're a credible news agency. I forget what they were, 60 Minutes or something. It's like Sanders didn't really want to get into it, but then he kind of conceded and said, well, I don't know enough about it. They kind of led the conversation there, but yeah. I think a lot of people are tired of the legacy media, dude. Like you turn on any major cable news, and you're guaranteed to get 80% fragments of the truth and propaganda, whatever. It's like crazy. Like he was saying, like it's kind of the boomers that are still, they're very trustworthy of what they're told most of the time on the news. It's kind of amazing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future, in terms of who's considered credible or whatever. Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. It's Captain Trucker. I hope you're all having a great day out there. We're just in Oklahoma, headed towards Kingman, Arizona. We got the sun going down to our right. North of, oh wait, no, is that north? I forget, sorry. I gotta pull over really quick. I gotta grab something. You guys see the sun back there? Isn't that great? I gotta grab a tangerine. Yeah, man, social media algorithms. It's kind of interesting stuff. Okay, I'm now safely parked. I gotta grab something. I can read some comments really quick. Let's see what we got going on in here. Jay Knight says he's driving on freedom. That's right. Francis McDonald deleted a message. I wanted to read that. Nathan Lemons came in Arizona from where you are about 24 hours. Not quite. No, about half of that actually. One Delchino, Richard, still here, just in time. Okay. What do we got going on? Give me 1 second, guys. I might pause. Give me a second. All right. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate that. All right. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate that. How far am I from Tucson? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Guys, I'll be right back. I gotta grab something, okay? Oh, thank you. 1 second. Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just tuning in, this is Captain Trucker, and today's going to be a new day for you because you're now connected to elements of truth that you won't normally hear in your waking life. And the longer you watch this channel, the better off you'll be. Because there's a lot of brain rot on what they call social media. So part of this channel is trying to provide a new, fresh place for people to congregate, where we can all get together and hopefully learn some things, have a positive impact on each other, all that good stuff. If you like that message, please subscribe and smash that like button. That's me, by the way. I'm Captain Trucker. That's not my real name, but for the purposes of this channel, let's just say it is. I'll be right back. Ooh. Hold on a second. Let me check a few things really quick. Crazy Girl says, have you ever seen something on the road that you weren't able to explain? Are you referring to like a UFO or something? I mean, I have not personally, but I would imagine other people have, no doubt, for sure. Oh, thanks for that super chat, by the way, KR14. I didn't see that. We don't need super chats here, but I do appreciate them. It's always nice when people appreciate stuff. We just want more of your viewership, support, transcendent positive energy, that kind of stuff. All that good stuff. Kuya Storm has been here. Uninvited Guest is here. It's a good name, Uninvited Guest. I like that. Richard Holland. Sweet says, hi from New Zealand. How's it going, Captain? Good, thank you. All right. Give me a second, guys. All right, I'll be right back. Okay. We'll carry on this mind-blowing conversation shortly. Fish oil from the refrigerator, isn't that great? All right. Man, I really got to clean my truck. I haven't had the time to clean the inside of my truck, man. It's ridiculous. I really got to clean it. It's like really not looking good. It's pretty bad, actually. You know, I thought I read somewhere, I don't know if this is true. I really don't know if this is true, but I thought I read somewhere that it's actually illegal not to make your bed. I don't know what state that was or if that's true, but I read a story that a truck driver actually got a ticket for not making his bed. Okay, can you believe that? Seriously, imagine that. I mean, how degrading and humiliating is that? Isn't that weird? I don't know if that's a true story. It can't be. Maybe it is. Who knows, man? There's some weird laws out there. All right, I'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. I got to run into the store. Please stay tuned. Talk to each other. Keep yourselves entertained. I'll be back.
In 1 3/4 miles, turn right on East Main Street.
All right, I'm back. Sorry for the delay. I'm back. I gotta grab my nightly dosage of fish oil. Hold on a second. Oh my goodness. Y'all having a good time out there? I just said y'all. I never say that. I don't even know why I said that. It's very strange. Hope you're all enjoying this view. All right, one moment. We're going to carry on here shortly. Momentarily. My goodness gracious. Okay. Man, I gotta clean this truck tomorrow. I really do. It's my goal. I have big ambitions. Okay, I'm back, folks. You all having a good time out there? I hope you are. We got the sun going down. We're about to hit the road, folks. Welcome to the live stream. Whoever's out there, appreciate the support. Smash that like button. Let's get these likes up to 50, okay? And we are about to... There's a guy jogging. That's awesome. All right, here we go. All right, we are in Oak City, Oklahoma. We're about to cross into Texas through Amarillo. Final destination is near Kingman, Arizona. We are off, folks. Buckle your seatbelts, okay? I can't see the phone while I'm driving. I have it blocked. But when I pull over, I can read comments and so forth.
I-40 west.
I-40 west, here we come.
Continue on I-40.
Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Sun's almost down. .27 miles from Amarillo. So I've been on the road about 13 weeks now, I think. Back into the truck early April. Flew from the Philippines back to the States. Jumped in the truck and headed off, and it's been like 13 weeks, 14 weeks. Good times. That's how we make the money. Life on the road. I don't know, I kind of feel like technology sometimes can take the fun out of life. Although there's a lot of benefits. The world is going to be very strange in the next 20 years. If anybody spots any UFOs out in the sky, let us know. I haven't seen any.
Well, you know who got the best bear fight footage before this was Grizzly Man.
Oh.
Which is one of my favorite all-time comedies.
I haven't.
It's the
I haven't
best.
watched it.
You haven't watched it?
No, I keep meaning to and haven't watched it, but I know
Oh
that.
my God!
Yeah.
Have a cocktail and watch Grizzly Man. It is the best unintentional comedy that's ever been made. And I wonder if it's unintentional because Werner Herzog is a genius, you know, and.
Well, I was trying to think of something to talk about, but sometimes I have moments of peace. That'd be kind of funny though if I talked for like 3 hours straight on a live stream. It can be kind of exhausting though, you know? I gotta save my mental energy sometimes. I was listening to Richard Dreyfuss talk about when he was filming What About Bob with Bill Murray. And apparently, according to Richard Dreyfuss, he said that Bill Murray was bullying him on the set, which I thought was kind of... I thought that movie was funny, What About Bob? He said that Bill Murray got into his face. And he yelled at him and said, "You're just tolerated." And apparently he threw an ashtray at his head. Richard Dreyfuss dodged it. I thought, man, what a weird dynamic. Yes, driving can be peaceful at times, folks. I saw a movie with Jude Law where he's a submarine driver that got a submarine driver. Sorry, he worked on a submarine. He was like a captain or something. He got laid off, and then he was hired by this company to find some like abandoned Russian submarine that had a bunch of gold. So he gets this crew together and they go look for this abandoned submarine somewhere in maybe the Red Sea or something. I thought it was a good movie. I like that movie. I never would have thought of Jude Law as a submarine captain, but he pulled it off. Documentary on people that do those paid protests, people that participate in those. That'd be worth watching. how they get roped into stuff like that. Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost in Texas. The sun is almost down completely. I was estimated, I think there'll be maybe 1 million Americans in the Philippines by 2034. The world's becoming a smaller place. The new hotspots will be these like developing countries, quote unquote, that most people never traveled to before, but we have so much information and so many blogs now that people watch this stuff and they say, oh, I could live there too. And, you know, the exchange rate's pretty favorable. Cost to live in is significantly lower. Almost hit deer before. There's 2 occasions where I was literally inches from hitting a deer that ran across the road. That does happen. There's really not much you can do. That whole deer in the headlights thing, that's a true story. saw some lightning in the distance. Saw another lightning. Could be approaching a storm. Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Got about 400 miles so far today. I'm going to aim for another 200 more, about 3 hours of driving. well, we could be driving into a rainstorm. It's going to be interesting how that works. I don't think it's a storm. I did check the radar. Didn't look too bad. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. It's Captain Trucker. We are approaching Texas, headed towards Arizona, going towards Kingman, Arizona. Been on about a 1,900-mile trip from Racine, Wisconsin. Hope everybody's good. Smash that like button, whoever's out there. We got a long night ahead of us. I still think Terminator 2 is a great movie. I like when, movies still didn't have too much CGI. It kind of takes like the realistic element out of it, you know what I mean? I think T2 was like the perfect hybrid. Because when there's too much CGI, like it feels fake, you know what I mean? There's something inauthentic about it. So if you could like still do real stunts, get a little bit of CGI, I think that's the perfect balance. Play some music that's not copyrighted. That way I can give people like something to listen to. I met a driver once. He said he doesn't listen to any podcast on the road. Doesn't listen to any music, no audiobooks. Just drives in complete silence for thousands and thousands of miles. I thought, wow. It's like being trapped inside your own head. be getting some rain. We're getting some rain, folks. Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. It's Captain Trucker. We are in the rain. to Arizona, almost to Amarillo, Texas. That guy's driving too fast, Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. It's Captain Trucker. Hope you're all doing good out there. We're driving through Texas, we're almost to Amarillo, going to Arizona. Hope you're having a good night, good day, and enjoy the instrumentals. you're enjoying the music, smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen. turn left. We're almost in Amarillo, Texas. I hope you're all having a good evening or morning, wherever you may be in the world. There is no past. Time's always moving forward. We're in existence right now. The time is the present, folks. We are out of the rain. Well, I'm glad it stopped raining, I'll say that. It's finally cleared up, man. It's dry. Hope you're all enjoying the music. Welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Please support our channel and smash that like button. We're almost in Amarillo, Texas, headed to Arizona. Thank you, everybody, for your support. It's fun to drive with people on the road. Makes the job more entertaining. just gone 500 miles today. I'm gonna do about 600. Coach in Amarillo, Texas.
There'll be no loyalty except loyalty to God. But always there will be the intoxication of power. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen.